game. Hi, I'm Sammy, and I have to address some concerns I have about cheating and hacking, etc. in game, in basically online games, because I'm not going to be funny, but I'm honestly getting really concerned about this because it's become, especially when it comes to cheating and hacking in Fortnite. Fortnite specifically has gotten really worse with the whole cheating and hacking and manipulation to the survey. Issues are getting way out of hand to the point that things are just getting worse by the days, by the weeks, by the months. I mean, I honestly thought that the new anti-cheat systems that they put in recently, that was going to improve things. It was going to make things a bit better to the point that we don't have to consistently deal with a lot of cheaters in our games going forward. But no, I was so wrong. The situation has gotten way worse than we can anticipate. It's gotten to the point where it's becoming malicious. It's gotten to the point that games are going to, these online games are going to become more and more unsafe to not only me, but most of my friends who are going to be looking at online games as like, well, we usually look to online games as like our sort of escape and kind of just a way for us to sort of play with friends and chill out and relax and just have a good time. But these type of players who are going into games and doing wall hacks or doing stuff that involves lag switching, which we'll talk about in a moment because it does relate to the story I'm going to bring up. But more importantly, it's gotten to the point where all these different cheats and hacks and stuff that is affecting the game, it's going to push some of my friends away. It's going to make most of my friends like not want to play this game going forward. It's going to make them not want to play games like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Overwatch, etc. Because I guarantee you it's not just Fortnite that's probably having these issues. I'm sure that Overwatch has had issues, Call of Duty's had issues, especially the Bungie games. Like, imagine the fact that there's obviously I've had quite a history of dealing with toxic players in there, and in fact people who will do anything to cheat in a PvP or a PvE content. Trust me, it gets ridiculous on that front. But yeah, a lot of online games that have a competitive mode are affected by cheaters and hackers so much to the point that something needs to be done. We need to improve the security and the safety of players more and more as time goes on, because it feels like these cheaters are just finding new ways to get away with stuff, and there has to be a way. There has to be a way for game companies to bypass cheaters. There has to be. I refuse to believe that they have no way to get past cheaters. There has to be a system out there that has the potential to bypass the cheaters' code to the point that they will never do it again, or they need to be severely punished so that they think twice about doing it again. Because it almost feels like when you're dealing with someone who harasses people, they will not stop until you basically make them suffer the consequences of their actions. That's the only way you're going to prevent cheaters going forward. And I feel that the same needs to be done with cheaters and hackers. They need to be severely punished to be able to prevent them from basically getting away with so much in gaming as of late. And that brings me up to a story that I'm going to share, which basically one of my best friends, Oogieboogie, aka who I know her as Toni Lee, she kindly wanted me to kind of share this story in a way, because she just was really annoyed and really pissed off, and rightfully pissed off, for how she had to deal with a cheater last night that kind of just sums up everything I'm saying, really, about cheaters and my sort of frustrations about them. The fact that they're getting away with so much to the point that you can't even enjoy these online games as much as you want to anymore. And also what makes matters worse is the response that she got from Epic about the situation. It almost feels to me like Epic just do not seem to care about players and the safety of players, to the point that they're more focused on the money they're receiving from the item shop more than protecting their players from malicious actors or even people who are using manipulated cheats like lag switching and cheating and wall hacking and stuff just so they can have fun in a game. Like, this is just disgusting. The fact that companies are just doing less and less to want to protect their players from stuff like this, and it needs to stop. We need to put an end to this crap one way or another, because I kind of fear that the next gen consoles are going to get affected by this, and I don't want it to be the reason why people won't pick up a new Xbox, or the reason they won't pick up the PlayStation 6 in case cheaters affect games that come out to those platforms, because you never know, it could be, especially with Xbox now pushing to be more PC-like. I have many concerns about the next Xbox, knowing that how cheaters operate on PC, or seeing how they maliciously go after, basically do anything they want to win a match. I kind of feel very concerned about the future of the Xbox hardware, knowing that this next console is going to be PC focused. Like, can you imagine the amount of cheaters you're going to have to deal with when you're playing on that hardware? It's going to be crazy and ridiculous. So anyway, make sure to like and subscribe. I mean, if you're new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And also, I would appreciate any comments for those or cheaters or hackers in your games. Like, have you had, I like to believe that there are people who have had a similar experience that what my best friend Toni has experienced, including myself, that has dealt with a lot of laggy games to the point that it almost feels like lag switches are affecting my matches at a ridiculous rate. It's really ridiculous. I can't even have a stabilized game half of the time. But anyway, without further ado, we're gonna share Toni's story here, because I want to share this story because I feel that it's important to kind of give you a sense of how bad things have gotten when it comes to cheating, etc. So, in terms of where it starts with Toni's story here. So, she was playing Fortnite last night with one of her good friends, potentially real life friends, but one of her good friends, and she was, I was streaming and stuff, and when she was telling me this, and she kind of brought up the fact that she had a situation in one of her matches where she basically was, she was playing with her friend, and it was all going well until all of a sudden she was experiencing a situation where her game started lagging really aggressively, and in fact it affected her friend as well, to the point that they started randomly lagging halfway through the match, and it didn't really make sense to her why that was happening, because, well, considering the fact that she has a really good internet and stuff, so you can imagine her surprise to receive some form of a lagging situation out of nowhere during the match, where she doesn't barely get that in her matches. So it came as a bit of a surprise to have that situation happen. But then gradually later on, obviously she obviously wins the match in the clip you're seeing in the background here, to the point that she notices that the player that she killed the game didn't tell her who the person was, because, well, the person that she encountered basically might have been the reason why the lag switching happened in the first place, because she essentially encountered a cheater that basically lag switched her game with her friend, to the point that as soon as she won the match and she was going to try and report him, the game refused to give her the username. In fact, to the point that, well, you're going to see in this video here that when she tries to look back at the replay of this match specifically, the game refuses to show her that replay, to the point that you can't even see you can't even get clips or anything. That replay has been lost entirely because of basically someone in that match basically overloaded the survey so badly, but with the lag switching, to the point that basically she can't even use that replay anymore. She can't even like access that room one replay out of all the replays that she has access to. She can't even access that replay. That replay is completely lost, and the game decides to basically not allow it. And in fact, if you're wanting to kind of get a bit of an understanding of what, and I know there's going to be some people that are going to be saying, what is lag switching, aka packet loss, as they call it. Well, this is the description for it for those who need a better understanding of this. So the packet loss trap, essentially what this is, and this is obviously coming from Google's sense of the description, because obviously Google knows what they're talking about here. Usually it's a high ping means that the data takes a long time to travel. Packet loss, however, means the data is simply being deleted mid-air. And in terms of the cheater aspect of this, the player that you were fighting was likely using a tool that floods the game survey-specific ports with junk data, which obviously results in your ping staying low, which will be around the 22 ms to 24 ms. Because of the connection is so fast, but since 10 to 50% of your buttons pressed are being lost in the flood of junk, your character status shots don't register, your party chat, which uses the same internet pipe, starts breaking up, which, by the way, that's another thing she brought up, is that when they were in the party chat, they kept breaking up during that lag switch. So right there, you can see quite clearly that basically the footage, basically all the things that they said in this description basically matches this clip basically very well. And then when it comes to replay situations, the descriptions even say here, the fact that you both crash at the exact same moment in the replay confirms that this wasn't a coincidence. They've got like the new pack, which when cheaters realize they were losing or just being toxic, they'll likely send another form pack, a piece of data that Fortnite engine doesn't know how to read. So right there, they're basically using a piece of data that Fortnite doesn't even recognize. And then, of course, when it comes to the crashing side of things, this is what Google says about this. The live game ignores the error so that you can finish the match, but the replay files is in a literal recording of every pack sent. When the replay reaches the breaking pack, the game engine panics because it can't render the impossible action, so it shuts the whole app down to prevent system errors. I'm sorry to say this, but the fact that this player went to the extreme to basically lag switch that entire match to the point that now Toni can't even use that replay, and just as you just heard there, the game panics, it decides to crash, and now she can't even access that replay. So she wants to try and get the usernames, she's unable to do so. So you can obviously see right here, we clearly are witnessing somebody who chose to feed the game some unwanted data that pretty much broke the game, basically overload the game surveys to the point that you can't even access the replay that they were in. You can't. Basically, in other words, they were trying to manipulate the game just to protect their identity so that no one knows it was them who cheated. If that isn't malicious attempt, I don't know what is, because clearly that right there is just kind of basically a dirty way to basically try and prevent themselves from basically getting caught. And I think it's just wrong that players think it's okay to, there are players out there that think it's okay to do this sort of activity towards players when they're in a match, just so they can get away with so much more in the future. So personally, I think companies need to prevent this from going from getting worse going forward, because if you have cheaters that are preventing the game from basically crashing the game so badly to the point that when you relog in, you can't access replays and you can't even see their usernames anymore, then yeah, that's beyond the security breach right there. That is considered basically a criminal offense, pretty much in my case, and I think that should be considered like against terms of service and law of the game, in my opinion. And the fact that Epic Games allowed this in the first place just baffles me. That they think it was all right to let someone do such a thing in their own games, to the point that if Toni wanted to get any clips from that match, she can't even do that anymore. It's just, it's sad. I know some of you are going to be saying, why don't she just report to Epic support about this? Well, she did do just that. And, well, I'm going to be real honest about the responses that Epic support gave, or the support agent, as they call it, have responded. I'm going to be totally honest, but they don't seem to act like they care. The responses are very corporate, and you're going to see what I mean, because the response they gave her is just basically a corporate speech, basically a speech that they would give to their investors, a speech that basically just tells me that they care more about the profit they're making from the item shop than actually player safety. And it's just sad that in 2026 they can't even prevent people who are basically causing lag switching deliberately in their games. They can't even prevent protect players from that for some weird reason, because they think, because we're getting money from the item shop, who gives a shit in their eyes. So in terms of the obviously, she kind of, as I mentioned, Toni kind of reported it to Epic about the situation, and this is where it gets in. Obviously, when she provided the information, they basically responded in saying this: I totally understand your concern. I appreciate the time you took to share this situation with our team. Allow me to share these cases as a reviewed by a total different team. The reason why is if you can report it in game will be perfect. I'll send you the option you can use to report even if you can't get the replays. But then yeah, so essentially they were trying to get her to report in the game, but obviously, because as I've said before, she can't do that because the replay doesn't work, and also the players were hiding their usernames, so obviously she had to explain that to them. And yeah, they basically just chose to basically say, oh, just report in the game, you'll get a response there. But then later on, she gets a response from them, and this is the response that I said, as I said earlier, basically sums up as a corporate response. You honestly, it's going to feel like you're being there talking to investors rather than the players, and this is what it says. You can see it right here on the screen. This is the corporate response they gave for players who are raising concerns about cheaters. They're saying, thanks for sharing for the rest of the info from the attack that affected your match. This is really helpful for our team. I know it's frustrating for you and your friend, but currently this is all the information our team has for you. However, if you need assistance with something else, let us know. We will happily try to assist you. In other words, this response right here is kind of basically the response that just comes across as like, yeah, we hear you, but we're not going to do anything about it. Honestly, I honestly have to say this, but the fact that Epic Games, a company that has got money in their spare pocket, by the way, who has used that money to improve their Unreal engines, to make their Unreal engines better for future game releases and also for potentially the next-gen consoles. I'm sure they're working on that already, the engines for that console. But nevertheless, I'm going to have to say, this response right here doesn't really spark confidence that they're going to solve the problem. It doesn't tell me that they're going to improve their anti-cheat. It doesn't tell me they're going to improve their security within their games. It doesn't tell me that they're going to address the issue. All it tells me is that, yeah, we're listening, but we don't give a shit because item shop money or nothing, according to us. Like, really? Is this the response that Epic Games has to give to their players every time they raise a concern? Is this the norm now, that Epic Games' response whenever a player encounters a cheater or or somebody hacking the game or manipulating the game, their response is always going to be, "Oh, this is all we've got for you. If you need to try, and we can always assist you on something else." If that's what they truly think about the whole cheating problem, then I'm going to say this verbatim, but personally, I think you need a new support team, because whoever's running this support team clearly does not seem to understand what my friend Toni is literally telling them is that she witnessed a cheating problem where someone lag switched in her game, and she literally told you the whole story, and you're still responding like you don't seem to really care about the seriousness of this situation. And it just baffles me that this is how they respond to players who are concerned about their safety in online games. And if this is how they're going to respond anytime there's a concern, then I'm starting to lose a lot of faith about Epic Games are going to handle situations in the future, because again, this doesn't, like I said, it doesn't spark confidence to me that they're really taking this seriously. They're not. Alright, so within the making of this video, I do also have to show another piece of evidence that basically sums up that it wasn't just Toni that also had the replay issue happen to her, because turns out her friend has also received the replay situation, because my friend kind of sent the message to her today that basically just shows you that, yeah, they're unable to load up any of that, the replay of that match ever. So it may seem like it's still available, but even trying to relaunch it, it just doesn't load. It doesn't even launch. It just takes them back to the lobby, and pretty much it doesn't exist. That footage basically does not exist. And as I said earlier in the video, it's unacceptable for unacceptable for Toni and for many people that to basically have this issue continuously happen when they're dealing with cheaters and stuff. And this is why stuff like this needs to be called out. This is why we need to come together as a gaming community to want to make it hopefully a very positive change that will make online games a little bit more safer for the majority who do follow the rules, and the majority that do want to play games with their friends and not have to be bothered by these cheaters. Because trust me, I'm pretty sure there's some gamers who are watching this right now who are very bothered by the fact that cheaters are running rampant in their games, and they're too scared. There are even some who are too scared to even step into online games because they don't trust the online culture of the games, and also they because of the fears of microtransactions being the reason why some gamers would avoid these online games, which is very understandable. Like I said, hopefully we can get a discussion going in the conversation below. I would really appreciate it. And I also have to thank Toni for letting me use the footage here, because she wanted, obviously I kind of mentioned to her that I was gonna do this, because it's just the cheating stuff's just gone on long enough. It's gotten to the point where we need to address it more than ever, and the sooner we make it, the sooner that this we start progressing towards a future where we don't have to deal with stuff like this on online games going forward, the better online games will be. Because I honestly believe we can get to a point where online games are safer, and we can get to a point where online games can be fun again. It's just all we got to do is somehow basically teach these people that this stuff is wrong and that they need to be severely punished, to the point that they'll think twice about doing these actions in the future. That's the sort of attitude we've got to have in front of these people, because in terms of their knowledge, they're just going in thinking that they can run around rampant and do whatever they like, because they're not going to get punished in any way, shape, or form, because no company's going to punish them severely. So we've got to at least try to get these companies to start realizing they need to severely punish these people, and also potentially keep them banned at all costs, because there are many of these cheaters that should not be allowed in games like this. They should not be allowed to get away with the stuff they're getting away with. It's it's basically damaging the game for a lot of people, because because a lot of these games you've got to connect online to play, and when your game is lagging consistently when you're trying to play, it's just not fun. It's not a fun experience. It's not a fun at all. It just sucks. It really, really sucks. And I'm really sorry that, for those who have been affected by lag switching or laggy games to the point that you just get frustrated to play and stuff. I really feel bad for you lot for having to deal with situations like that from cheaters constantly over nearly every year. And it's just, the sooner we put an end to this, I like to believe the better online games will be going forward. But let's hope we have a really nice discussion. Hopefully we're not fighting in the comment section. Let's hope that doesn't happen, because I would like to have at least a very nice conversation, try and get some encouragement for change, because I think change is the definitely a thing that needs to happen when it comes to this area. And I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to criticize the fact that I'm calling this stuff out, but I think at the end of the day, it needs to be called out, because this has gone on long enough. It's happened for many years, and I think now's the time to finally put a stand to it. And especially with Xbox planning a new console release potentially within the next year, and then Sony will eventually bring their PS6 to the market with the potential handheld that could be in the works. We've got to at least be ready to basically make online games better for these next generation consoles, to the point that cheaters are not potentially planning to do anything that will hurt the reputation of those devices, because we all know they're probably thinking about it at some point. So we've got to get ahead of them somehow to prevent this stuff from happening any further. Thanks so much, everyone, and be sure to subscribe. I've got more gaming videos to come. Hopefully I just hope we can create a better change when it comes to dealing with with this sort of issues in online games going forward. And hopefully, I like to be hopeful that I'm making, at least by doing this video, I'm at least trying to push towards a positive change, I hope. So I'll catch you in the next one.